I got the word of brutal though, so I'm gonna do something kind of brutal. A bit violent. Danny, do you have any tape?
Yeah, but what
I want to put tape just around the foot here, just to like put it on the ground a little bit more.
put it right underneath it?
Yeah, if you don't mind. I mean, you can wrap it around it too, just to clamp it.
Like right underneath? Like,
I would say like around it.
oh, like around
Yeah,
it?
just around it and put it on the foot ground.
Okay.
That's it.
One on that leg over there too?
Sure.
Is that cool?
Yeah, that's good. Perfect, man.
You don't usually do that take this off, right?
Nah, but this spot openness, it's probably got kicked around a lot, so.
Huge. The canvas?
I thought it was pretty normal size. I've been buying a bunch of them.
The biggest one you've done with us.
Oh, really? Blacksmith's gonna be hacking.
You're swatting right now?
Who's watching?
You swatting.
Squatting? It's the martial arts thing, isn't it? The horse stance. Hey, what's up, man?
How's it going?
Good to see you.
Nice. What are you working on?
Got a lot with Black Sew, doing a blacksmith piece with a little one-off one I did for the custom paint job with the sculpture. So just kind of working through it, mostly through action, but usually with a blank canvas, it's kind of open to the possibilities of an idea. But I got a word from the outside saying brutality. So with the word of brutal, thinking of something a bit more violent, of course. So just kind of playing jazz right now.
So when you're working on a composition like this, what's the first thing, the most important thing that you have to start with? Like
Just movement.
just movement?
Movement, the idea of direction, which direction you want to go everything into. And then you find the torque and the force and the movement and the flow. Then I establish the first image I need to get the camera angle I want. And then from there, just kind of build it off from that.
And how much do you leave, like, how much will it change over the time that you're working on it? Like, is the first
It's always
idea-
changing.
It's always changing.
Every single moment. From every line to every shape, initially I had in mind is in the general direction, but the visual that I had is not necessarily this. It's somewhat close to it, but it's changed every single moment as I've added to the piece. So from this head of the ogre, as I went down to the body, how much I wanted that slice to go through, even where I wanted the actual framing, I actually wanted it initially to be a bit closer, more zoomed in, but this opens up more possibility to create more imagery around it now. So initially what I wanted is not what I got, but I work with what it is. It's not about getting it better or worse, it's more about just moving with the piece.
And right now, are you just simply thinking forms, or are you thinking details at the same time as you're doing forms?
It's a combination of shape, form, and detail at one time. Of course, people that are doing it for the first time have to start with just the shape and the form initially.
Yeah.
They layer it as they go through, but once you get a good sense about what you want to do, then you're able to establish the shape and the form and detail all in one go.
So before you got here, Danny and I were looking at your new Monkey King one that you just posted, where you've got this like aerial shot.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, when you're creating a piece, do you think of it almost like you're a director, or are you thinking just more just like having fun and creativity?
Fun and creativity. Yeah. Because if I'm trying to direct it, then it's going to be very much problem solved in a way. So that, obviously is required for something more of a production. But if it's something that's my own thing, it's all play at that point. Doesn't mean there's not enough like decision making at the time. It's just that I'm able to free flow through it much faster. But if I'm doing it for something else, then I put a lot more emphasis of thought and process. But this is very much just based on instinct, falling back on my kind of experiences, and using things that I've already done before, playing with them, manipulating them a little bit, just to make it somewhat fresh and new. But it doesn't mean that I haven't drawn something somewhat remotely similar to this. But I'm pulling from that memory. A lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm drawing live. I'm limited on time, got 3 hours. So if I gotta move quickly, if I'm going for something that's gonna be brand new, well then, I probably have to think about it a bit more, and it's not gonna go exactly the way I want to. But with this, I got the word, but the word is also connected to a memory that I've done before, that I play with it, and it feels somewhat fresh, yet remotely familiar. And that familiarity gets me to speed.
So that's kind of important, I think, for people starting out, because they see you working and they think, I could never do this. So is this like kind of like that idea of how long did it take you to draw this? It took me like 20 years kind of idea?
Basically.
Basically.
You're seeing the underlying tone of years and years of experience that you can't necessarily perceive only through the actual visual outcome, but the amount of process that goes in my brain that's instantaneous now is that lead up of 20 years.
Now, how long have you been drawing the Blacksmith?
Since 2014. That's when I first drew him.
Do you ever get the need or to alter him, or has he pretty much been the same kind of concept and design since you started?
He's been relatively the same ever since. Hasn't had to change much. He's one of those designs that just kind of fell into place the instant I drew him. But at the same time, your mind can always go to the idea of like, well, it could be better. And I could have stuck on that and drew him over and over and over again, redesigning him. But I've come to an age and a point now where it's like, this is good enough. Because I gotta move, I gotta keep more, producing more. But I think people get stuck on things.
Do you see him as like a design, or is he a living character that you kind of like, you wouldn't alter him because you've got this relationship with him for this long?
It was a story and a living idea at first that then went through a process, a little bit of design. Natural evolution took place from the experience of drawing him. And I think he was more naturally born that way. As I'm asking questions or answering questions, talking to people, but as I'm sketching and drawing, my brain just gets like fallen into that world. So things can also disappear around me. So play, as we do have kids, as we play as kids, is a form of education. We learn how to storytell. We learn how, even like the physical manipulations of certain things, even muscle, memory or hand-eye coordination kind of stuff. It's all what you're learning as a child to adulthood, So I've maintained that mentality and how to use that sort of energy applied to everyday use here too. But I think a lot of people lose that. They go through the maturity and they lose that. They go so more to technique, and the technique tends to be overridden with just all the dogmas and systems of things. But if you don't have play, then you lose yourself. You just become a carbon copy of the technique that's been out there. But the technique is good because you have to establish that foundation. Obviously you need those skill sets to kind of get you to those next plateaus. But all I'm saying is that balance within those elements of technique to play.
So many times we think sometimes of it as work.
Yeah.
And like the importance of just enjoying it, I think it plays a big part in becoming creative and developing good work.
Yeah.
So what's next for the Blacksmith?
More issues, obviously. I'm gonna keep writing the story. Book 1's been out for a while now.
Yeah.
But next step-wise, more on the process of making the book. I don't know if I want to sit and write it myself. At this point, I've established the first book in the world and the story. I'm actually in talks with potentially other people to help me write it out, the rest of it, where I can now just illustrate it.
Okay.
So if that means like working with a publisher independently, or working with somebody as an independent artist in general, finding the right person. But it's in line with the many other things I got to do. So,
Yeah.
But that's the benefit of working on an independent project like this one here. Is like I'm on my own timeline. So people keep asking, it's like, when is it coming out? When's it coming out? It's coming out when I work on it.
Yeah. Well, and as it grows in popularity, would there ever be a chance of you allowing other artists to interpret the Blacksmith, or is that?
Oh yeah, of
something
course,
that
absolutely. I mean, honestly, that's what this really is here with Danny and Plastic Cell, is that I allow them to have creative freedom to mess with the characters where they want to, where they want to add things into the world that I might be able to use myself.
Was that difficult to do, to let someone else
No.
in? No?
I have a very easy time of letting things go, actually. I don't consider the idea that I have or the thing I'm creating as the most ultimate, high valued thing. I myself like to compromise a lot. I like to benefit from others' ideas as well too, and I understand how other concepts can add to my own.
Now, how much of the Blacksmith have you developed already? Like, does he have do you know a childhood blacksmith in your story?
I know his birth to his death.
Birth to death.
That's how I started the first book in the first place. I don't know how to write. I'm not a writer. So what I had to do was, on my chalkboard, I put up a big butcher paper. I put a big line on it, and it was this timeline of birth to death. And I put up a bunch of sticky notes of all the little weapons he has to go find in his journey. And each of those sticky notes are a single book. So then from those sticky notes, I will pull from that saying, I got to research now this timeline, this era, where he's going, what he's looking for. And I focus on that one section of his life.
So when, in the process of developing the books might not necessarily be linear. We might get different times. That's awesome.
So the first book actually already is on his journey, set within a certain age. But I do flashbacks of his past. But the next book, I kind of want to go a bit further back to an earlier part of his life and go from there. So it won't be linear. I would say storytelling-wise, what I'd like to be able to mimic or parallel is Hellboy.
Yeah. Oh, I was just thinking that reminds me a lot of Hellboy. You get a lot of
each of his books are individual journeys or adventures.
Yeah.
But timeline-wise, they kind of jump around a little bit.
Yeah. Are there any artists that you'd like to collaborate and bring their stories into your story?
Not that I know of right now. If it was a close friend of mine, it's someone I worked with in the past, his name is Izzy Medrano. I like him because he's a great writer, but also an amazing artist. I've known the guy since I was in high school.
Yeah.
But we always talk story and shop whenever we get together. But I think his take on something like this would also be amazing.
Now, the Blacksmith takes place in a lot of Chinese history? Or
It's pretty much all of Asia.
all of Asia?
The blacksmith himself comes from the Turco-Mongol region, 14th century. But he travels in all around like the Middle East, to East Asia, to Southeast Asia, looking for these kind of like mythological weapons. What we would consider mythology.
Yeah.
Of things like teacher to student, the mentorship idea. How things like that, going deeper into it, some people who are trained to do certain things are blind to a lot of stuff, and they just do what they're told sometimes. And that relationship of a father figure and whatnot is something that's been in my own life quite a bit. So I'm using that as a pull from my own life to pull to the story.
That's interesting. So like Mignola always says that Hellboy is like his father. Is the blacksmith somebody in your life?
He's more like me.
More like you.
Yeah. And the people he deals with, of course, in my own life has been a positive trajectory,
Yeah.
but in his life, it actually is the opposite.
Opposite.
But it's then about the maturity to stand on your own 2 feet and make a choice for yourself and living your own life, instead of just doing what you're told.
Now, is there going to be like an antagonist for him that's
Yeah.
going to show up most of
Yeah.
And is that one completely developed, or are you still working on?
I mean, in terms of the relationships, the key characters, the story, all that's locked down for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long till we see that guy?
He's already been introduced, actually, in the first book, but it's not necessarily fully established that he's the antagonist just yet.
Okay.
It's one of those cases where the audience will know, but he won't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole storyline, I approached it more cinematically. So the comic graphic novel, even though it's just on 2D panels, I treat it more like storyboards,
Yeah.
wide frame. In my head, since I created it back in 2014, I've had a live action trailer playing in my head, shot for shot, like how I would actually do a trailer. Because I envisioned this as a show first.
Okay. Did you pick some actor that you would want to play the blacksmith?
No, but there was music.
Music. Okay.
The music that fit to a trailer.
And who was the music?
It's this band I found way back in the day. I saw them live in San Diego. They're called the Magic Sword. I don't know if you heard them before.
Yeah.
They're still going now,
Really?
but I saw them when they first launched. And one of their musics I found through a trailer that I saw on YouTube. And I looked them up, I started listening to their album, and they happened to just play in San Diego around that time, and I went and saw them live.
Nice.
So their music and their track also was an inspiration for creating the world and the story, and also the trailer for this.
Do they know that
No.
And so I love listening to artists talk about like their inspiration, and I'm always so delighted to hear that so many times it's not always something that's directly tied to what they're doing.
Oh, definitely.
It's like all this outside influence that really kind of,
This is why all artists need to step outside.
Yes.
If you think the answer is going to be found, somewhere on your phone or on the computer looking for some image and reference, it's not going to be that way.
Yeah.
It's living experiences. Meeting certain people, experiencing different kind of art, doing different kind of art yourself, traveling the world.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is what feeds all that information. I mean, I just got back from Abu Dhabi. I was in the deserts just a couple days ago, looking at camels and stuff. 1,000 yards of just nothing but sand and dunes. It's the most incredible stuff I've ever seen.
Is there a culture that you might want to pilgrimage into this story that isn't there yet? Like that doesn't exist in like Asia?
That's a good question, actually. I thought where he would be coming from is somewhat of a made-up culture myself, like that I put into it, but very much influenced by the local tribes that are around there, of course.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm looking at a lot of the Mongolian, Kazakhstan, or Uzbekistan, those people around that time, Turks as well too, is really what I'm really pulling from with Chinese influence. But I thought of also like there is going to be like a smaller sect tribe that's been established that he lives with, that is not real, but influenced by them. So it's kind of like an amalgamation of all those tribes coming together. Okay. Yeah. This right here is the hard part. What I'm doing right now is the part in which I don't struggle with, but I'm finding the challenge of trying to find a way to capture something that is there that I know, but I haven't gotten just yet.
Yeah.
And the part that I'm trying to capture at the moment is this sense of torque, this movement, this energy level that on a static image is so hard to do. People have recommended, even students and stuff, like maybe animation is the place to go to, where you have to actually see movement.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to capture right now, his movement at the moment, I always feel like when I try to draw these kind of scenes, as energetic as I can feel, it's not really hitting what I want just yet. So the kind of stuff right now that I'm doing is learning experience for me at the moment, because I'm trying to problem solve how to capture a pose that is fulfilling in this strike and energy of impact that I want to be able to invoke. So I don't think I have it yet.
So in these live demonstrations, how often do you hit a point where you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't made that mark, or I feel like I need to change it, and then how do you remedy that?
The mind never goes there.
Okay.
There's never a moment like, oh, I shouldn't have put that there. It's like more like, that line is there, now where I go next.
Okay.
You know, it's never a
So
uh-oh.
It's a total commitment once you start.
Total commitment. It's never uh-oh. Because once that thought comes in, then you go into panic mode. Then you make more mistakes. So there are no mistakes. It's just doing it. And there can be ups and downs all over the place, but it's commitment and just see it through the end.
Okay. And is that what you tell your students in class, like as a, like when you're working, is to commit?
Yeah. Because you got to work what's permanent.
Yeah.
And yeah, you should think before you draw.
Yeah.
And process all the information you need to, but once you get started, you got to go all the way through.
How many pieces are going to be? How many people are going to be on this canvas?
Him, maybe a few additional beasts in the background here.
At this point, do you already know which sword he's holding?
This sword here? No, it's his regular sword.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a special one?
Nah.
In your storytelling, is there a sword that's going to be elusive to him, that's going to be the one that, like, kind of like his Moby Dick, that he's got to, like, always needs to find? Or is it just a constant, like, reintroduction of new ones?
There are some weapons that he finds that are not truly the weapons he's looking for.
Okay.
I do want to isolate one weapon, being kind of like their tiers of strength within the powers of the weapons.
Okay.
And as he's gathering them and sending them up to the temple for protection, I want there to be one that's like the penultimate. Yeah.
And are all the swords your own creations, or are you going to be using some from history or
They're
mythology?
mostly all going to be from mythology.
Okay.
Stuff that actually existed from before the 14th century.
How fun was the research for that?
Oh, it's a lot of fun discovering them, but it's actually kind of hard finding a lot of detail information.
Okay.
Yeah. There are some that are widely popular, well-known swords and weapons. A lot of them come from Japan because they're so more well-documented. But there are other weapons, especially when I discover some that are not so common. That's when it's really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I've found some interesting like daggers and stuff from like Iran. I've found some really cool weapons in Southeast Asia, Vietnam. Interesting ones from Korea. But you know, there's so many interesting collections out there, but how much documentation is very all over the place.
So do you prefer it to be well documented, or do you prefer that the fact that you can like
Both.
Okay.
Because if it's well documented, then it's not so much work to like figure out exactly what it needs to look like and where it comes from, what it's done. But if it's something that has a little bit sparse information, I actually have a bit more creative freedom to just what do I want.
Out of all the weapons you kind of
And a pretty wildly popular sword. It's like the what's it called? The Muramasa blade. There are several out there that are really notorious and used a lot in like animes and stuff like that. So it's not my favorite, but it's the one I kind of well know now because of the research. But I just haven't given myself a chance to really apply it just to the story. So once I do so, I think I'll find one that I think will trump out.
And it's only going to be swords, or are you going to have some?
No, they'll vary.
Vary.
Yeah. I think like different interpretations are interesting, like the Monkey King. There's a version of the Monkey King in my story, and the Monkey King has a very famous weapon. The actual staff.
Yeah.
Don't forget to get your fish.
Yeah, so anyways, the Monkey King has that really famous staff that he has. And in the original story, of course, he does a journey to the west.
Yeah.
But in the version of the story I have now, he's done his journey. And he's stomped his staff into the ground and grown it really big into a giant tower. And people, tribes have built villages around it. And so the Monkey King now is this old peach drinking drunk, hanging about, done with the journey. And he has to now go find the Monkey King to go help rediscover the staff again. But now a whole civilization is built around the whole thing. Yeah. I think next what I really want to continue doing is just a lot more collaborations too. This kind of sculptural stuff, developing more like figures, toys, or the next thing I kind of want to do is work with a knife maker. I want to do a blacksmith knife.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, with an actual maker.
With like maybe like a hilt, like your.
Well, I'd actually want to use their designs, but using things like the pattern making.
Okay.
Icon, logo, that kind of stuff would also go in there too.
Now, a lot of Japanese sword makers have like like their stamp or their signature.
Yeah.
Does he have a signature that he's using?
I do.
Okay.
So that would use mine.
You gave us all those prints last year, and my daughter hung them over her bed.
Are you serious?
Yeah, she loves it.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Small break.
Before that was they're off the middle of January. Yeah. I don't know. I did double check with my friend. And Google.
Floating in the background.
Huh?
How's that?
Great. Ready?
It's pretty varies a lot in terms of what I do independently. Live show kind of stuff, I turn to things that are familiar.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like, be able to quickly produce.
yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like like freestyling.
Exactly.
Did you look at any particular animals when you were thinking about drawing ogres and like goblins? Like,
Well, a lot of mythology from Asian,
Right.
culture and stuff like that. A
Right.
lot of Japanese oni, Chinese ones as well too, Southeast Asia as well. So a lot of combination of things I pulled together from.
definitely.
And depending on where this character travels to, the kind of monsters he interacts with will be more culturally appropriate to them. Yeah.
Fair enough,
Did you buy a lot of stuff today? Man, for me, it's like I come here. It's like I just went to the booth.
Yeah.
Just do my stuff. I'm not walking around. I don't want to buy things. I don't have the money.
It was all pretty. This booth.
Yeah.
Ryan's
Yeah.
booth, it's all-
I don't have the money.
Yeah, that's a bad addiction.
Man. As long as you're having fun,
Yeah.
You guys out of here?
Yes, sir.
It was a pleasure.
Thank
Nice
you
talk
so
to you
much.
guys. Nice to meet you.
Real good.
I have this one here.
Oh, you bought from them?
Oh yeah, his stuff is awesome.
I moved with them a while back then too at the Pasadena location.
Oh, yeah?
They were our neighbors.
Yeah, I always see their stuff all the time, and every time I see him at a show, we're always talking, chatting. But I bought this one years ago. I'm always looking for another one. Yeah, these giant Evangelion ones. So, man, see what you got new going on.
You finished drawing?
Yeah, I finished.
Dang, that second half was quick.
2 hours goes fast, man. How's the show so far?
I don't know how it's gonna look. And I like it.
Is this one of your better ones you do? You think,
Yeah,
or
this is definitely the better
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
I'm sad that it's gonna be gone.
you're not gonna go to Vegas with them?
No one is. I don't think any of the smaller people are.
Really?
Yeah.
That's too bad, man.
Sculptures?
Yeah, like little small pendants.
Oh yeah, I mean toys and stuff.
Excuse me.
I don't think we advertise it very well.
Everybody who saw it.
Kettlebell. From far away, I thought it was like a kettlebell.
Oh.
It's a bag.
I was trying to kind of like make
Oh,
it
it's
into a
lightweight.
bag.
Did you make that?
Yeah, that's cool. At first, I was gonna try to make this part clear, and then make it so that it opens up. Too much engineering, so I'm like, screw it.
Oh, thank you so much.
This is cool too. This one.
Yeah.
Wow, this stuff is really cool. Hello. Even though that's cute,
Yeah.
but there's a lot there.
Yeah, that's all silversmithing right there. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. So the
I'm
yeah.
attracted to ceramics, but after a while, they all look the
I
same.
bought some ceramic.
Yeah, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with it, but I
They
think
want that. They want that. Like
like
candles.
the demographic.
Yeah. I feel like you've seen everything.
I think so far.
I don't have much new stuff.
This is the one I got last time.
Yeah.
This is a nice
That one's
piece.
super casual wear. It's
You get your
What?
you get your
Oh, wait,
little
did you make
Superani
this?
kitty. I did. Yes, I'm gonna be making like toys soon, so that's in the process.
I told Danny to
Where's
propose me in
your-
this one.
It's Instagram right there. Yeah, scribbled on.
What would he wear?
I'll follow.
But I follow.
I know,
him
he
already.
wants a ring,
So
too.
I'm
I was like,
yes, I love
I don't
it.
think
But
he
when
would
I have
do
to
it.
go with my friends.
No?
We only have like two.
Oh yeah, you should go.
Eddie was like, his mic is on, ask him something. I was like, can I ask him to ask something? He was like, what do you mean ask something? I was like, I want to tell him to ask Gundam, because it looks like Gundam.
He's so random. A Gundam with this.
Yes, that's exactly what makes it so cool. People love it. A little weird, little different thing.
That's
you know what I
funny.
mean?
It's funny.
But that's what I was thinking when I saw that character.
It's okay. You can have it in your mind.
Yeah.
What's up?
I still have that one piece I did live with you guys before that I thought would be a really cool sculpture.
Dude, like a whole scene.
That
That
scene
one
where
was
it was him battling with these three
I remember
dragons.
that one.
Yeah. Your
Like
brother was like super into it.
That'd be dope. Like a clay concept first. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Even this piece right here. Like this whole scene right here.
Yeah, if you want to do the Monkey King though, that one would be the one. Yeah, I'd be curious to see how he would do things like these effects, visual effects.
I did something similar on this. movement.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it would be longer, and it would wrap around the
Right.
piece, you know.
I think of these as like ribbons.
Yeah.
Ribbons, thin ribbons.
So this is like kind of moving forward, like.
Yeah. So you kind of, the way I imagine it with these is any area that has like cluster like this, it's like more billowy. And anything that goes to the tail is like a thin
sharp,
ribbon.
Sharp.
Yeah.
That's how I scope like these areas. too.
Exactly.
Like, it's just like
it goes
cloud,
build
and then it just
pull.
shoots out.
Right.
Yeah, like all these schools, like this is the kind of stuff I'm sculpting right now.
Yeah.
Like the looping motion.
Yeah. This is all Dragon Ball.
What is it?
Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball.
That's what I looked at when I was a kid. All these effects were all Dragon Ball.
That's like the first thing I drew when I was a kid too. I used to take the comic and put it through my window
Oh, yeah.
and trace it. Have you ever done that?
I just use tracing paper.
I put it through the window because it shines the light through the thing.
Thank you.
Small Doritos.
Not crushed up.
These are cool.
Like, what was your inspiration for the helmet?
That's the thing, man. It was random.
Really?
It just kind of happened to come out that way.
For what? Back in the
His headpiece,
Uh-huh.
I didn't pull it from any culture. I just made it up.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Was
But
it supposed to be like a crown? Is a crown?
So think of it where these three pieces are connected to a ring. So he puts it on like a crown and he wraps it with the headband. So if you took all this stuff off, this layer would come off as a headband, this would come off as a ring, and he would have a hood underneath it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We gotta be taking notes for the cosplay.
He's talking about doing the cosplay.
You'd be a perfect fit.
You got the beard.
You'd be perfect. If you were building a cosplay thing, all these armor set pieces would just be the foam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, gosh, it's such a great. Because I was looking at, like, last year I was looking at, God, look at all these awesome Ninja Turtle. Like, it'd be fun to make your own Ninja Turtle. But I'm like, oh, there's so many pieces, so much stuff. And then I was looking at Samurais, and there's some really cool stuff where you could, like, but then you gotta drill the holes and
intricate,
sew
though.
everything. And I'm like, that's gonna take a long time. But then I'm like, this would be fun because there's not a lot of pieces, but they would look, you could really spend the time making those pieces look cool.
Exactly.
So that'd be a fun piece.
This is like a fur backing, right?
Yep. It's like bear
What
fur.
animal? Bear?
Bear.
Yeah.
Freaking
Well, I was
slave
thinking,
bear.
I got a Sword of Omens. I want to get a sword. Like, it'd be fun to put one of those.
That'd
in
be
there,
fun.
Too. Yeah.
That's like Easter egg stuff right
Yeah.
I don't think this cosplay would be that difficult.
No.
Yeah.
there. Everything will be you could build with foam.
Yeah.
Or about like the shoulder
The
plates.
clothing is relatively simple. Just top
Well,
cloak.
I got that 3D printer. Once I start figuring it out, I can print like some of that stuff too. Because I got one of the big ones. I just don't know how to use it.
You gotta do it. Then show up at Monster Palooza, dude. That would-
2023. The time is now 7 p.m. and the hall is officially closed. We will be opening up tomorrow for general and VIP at 10 a.m. Please finalize all.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Hey, we're at Designer Con 2023, sitting with Classic Cell at their booth, and I'm here doing some live sketching of my character, the Blacksmith, also revealing the Blacksmith sculpture I've done a one-on-one painting of. We're going to be auctioning that off on their website, so check out their Instagram for more news, information, upcoming sculptures as well, and I'll be sitting with them in the future with more shows, so stay present.